I have a Patreon now. That's right, I've joined the ranks of every other content creator in demanding money from you because AdSense kinda sucks and I'm not quite there yet. So far, there are only 2 tiers, but I think they're pretty worth it. The entry tiers got work in progress updates, they get to vote on video topics, as well as shout outs at the end of videos, and the deluxe tier gets all of that, but also ad free videos and an exclusive role in the Discord server that'll give you private channels that no one else can see. Sign up, I guess, or don't. Either way, subscribe, like the video, follow me on Twitter and Letterboxd. Trust me, it's worth it. Yeah, thanks to them is good. What do you want me to say? I gotta say, I am very pleased with the fact that while a lot of the episode was kind of predicted by the fans in the months leading up to release, Dana and the other writers didn't change their vision just for an unpredictable story. They knew what the most compelling plot points and character moments were and stuck to them, unlike another fantasy show I could mention. And even then, there are still parts of this episode I didn't expect them to go with. First, though, we gotta talk about what is, in my opinion, the big non-spoiler elephant in the room. That just being the higher production quality of the show in general. Even from an animation standpoint, like, holy shit, is this what happens when these artists aren't held back by studio constraints? The art and animation are still consistent with the rest of the show, being exceedingly simple, but you could tell they put a lot more effort into the lighting, the character designs, and all the little details. The general quality of the writing seems more uninhibited too, like at one point they have a character dump a bunch of exposition, pretty standard, nothing to worry about, then they summarize it in the most nonchalant, fanficky way possible, and it's amazing. I think my biggest problem with the episode overall was the pacing. It was definitely a bit too fast for what was being handled, at least the climax not being very well climactic. But that said, considering the current state of this show, I'm surprised it's paced even as well as it is and isn't the most jarring thing in the world. Plus, considering what happens at the end of the episode, I don't think the climax was meant to feel very climactic, so it didn't really bother me that much. But to discuss that, we have to get into spoilers. I'll have timestamps in the description and hopefully chapters, assuming YouTube isn't being weird again. So 3, 2, 1, spoilerunos. The biggest thing I was worried about with them setting this episode in the human world was that we get stuff in Luz's human school with human characters. Thankfully, they don't do that. We get 2 scenes in the school, one of which builds Luz's character and the other is completely superfluous, but that's better than these 2 annoying-ass characters being in more of the episode anyway. Instead, most of the episode is focused on 2 things, getting back to the demon realm and building on Luz's character development. The little plot about finding the Titan blood is fun enough on its own with some great gags and little moments of banter between the Hexside gang, but it's the character development of Luz and Hunter that really makes this episode. You could make the argument that Amity, Gus, and Willow are kind of shafted from the narrative and don't get any real development in this episode, but the thing is, all of them fulfilled their character arcs in the back half of Season 2, so there isn't really anywhere left they have to go aside from saving the day. Though I would still like to see moments where each of them shine individually, as aside from Amity, they kinda act as a plot monolith throughout the entirety of this episode. Even so, the development of Luz and Hunter's arcs is excellent. Hunter being haunted by Bellos was really great and established some really creepy atmosphere. I like Hunter's little monologues where he doesn't know what he wants to be, and I love his confrontation with Bellos at the end. Bellos doesn't even consider Hunter his own person. Sure, he calls him Hunter in Season 2, but that feels more for Hunter's benefit and manipulation. You can tell that he only views Hunter as a copy of Caleb, calling him Caleb as he deigns to try and kill him, which ties back to Hunter having those little monologues about who he wants to be. He's never been treated as his own person until now, only ever as someone else's expectations for him. And finding out who he wants to be and escaping the shadow of his abusive father figure is a really compelling character arc. And then there's Luz, and goddamn, her character arc is amazing. This series somehow managed to pull a spectacular trick on us. In Season 1, it seemed like Luz's character arc was about maturing as a person thanks to lessons from this macabre fantasy world. But now with this episode and the rest of Season 2, it's clear that the true purpose of her arc is about breaking her down, showing how this selfish fantasy she wanted to live only ever led to death, suffering, and abandonment, and it left her in a darker place than when she went in. So now in this episode, the focus is on building her back up. She felt so guilty and depressed about the fact that she inadvertently caused all of that suffering. So the show now instead is intent on getting her to a place where she's ready to learn from her mistakes and realize, despite what she thinks, she's not responsible for the actions of a monster. It's not her fault that there was a genocide, and no one but herself blames her for any of it. The fact that her mother supports her desire to return to the demon realm, it just makes for a really interesting depiction of anxiety and self-doubt. Her friends and family are ready to help her and understand her, but she has to take the first step and ask for that. It's so good. Oh, and also the ending where Bellos returns to the demon realm is great. Great narrative choice. I wasn't sold on the Collector as the main villain for the finale. he wasn't that intimidating in King's Tide, so I'm glad they didn't kill Bellis this episode, and he's going back to play an active role in the rest of the finale. I love the trope where the villain is betrayed by a more powerful villain, only for them to come back and try and get revenge, so I'm excited to see where this goes. And yeah, as a whole, I feel like the best thing about this episode, aside from like everything we just talked about, is the fact that a lot of my concerns for Owl House Season 3 have kind of been eliminated, and I'm excited to see how it concludes. It's still extremely depressing that Disney canceled the show and stunted its growth, especially in the current climate Western TV animation is in right now, since studios are backtracking to thinking it's just for kids and not capable of any kind of depth at all. But at least I'm sure the show will end on a high note now. TBH, I'm not exactly sure what to give it. An 8 seems too low for the amazing character work in this episode, but the pacing and random superfluous scene do hold it back from being a 9 for me. So, 8.5 out of 10 for thanks to them. It's good, and if you missed it, definitely check it out when it gets to Disney+. Or on YouTube. It's on YouTube now. Thanks for that, Disney. Why did you cancel the show? Fuck you. Anyway, thanks for watching, and just let me know what else you want me to talk about by joining the Patreon. Patrons of the entry tier get to vote on video topics. And yes, I'll cover the rest of the specials when they release, but that's not till 2023. Anyway, bye!